Hello, everyone. I'm Shalika De Silva. On behalf of Samadhi Buddhist Foundation, I would like to welcome all of you to our this month's Clarity of Mind through Mindfulness session. Today, our topic is patience. So now I would like to invite Venerable Panadure Chandarathana Thero to enlighten us on this very important topic. Teruvan Sarnai Bante.
Yeah, Thero and I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, Bante, you can see the screen.
And today we are going to discuss about patience. And basically, there are a lot of information related to the patience in the Buddhist canon, and Buddha has mentioned its value. So I am going to little by little to little distance, little deeper from various suttas, recognizing various information and understanding that Buddha is trying to give us with respect to patience. Now, Mahamangala Sutta is one of the quite common sutta which all of us are quite aware of. So there's a beautiful verse there mentioning Kanti cha sova chassata samananancha dasana kalena dhamma sakaccha etam mangala muttamam. So here Buddha mentioned blessings, several blessings to the whole world, to oneself, and to the whole world. And their patience is also mentioned. So if one has patience, that means he's a kind of a blessing to himself, and he's also a blessing to the others as well. So therefore, it's a mangala karana. It's a kind of a blessing to the whole self and to the whole world. Therefore, you can understand the patience is well recognized even at the Mangala Sutta level. And then, as a parami, there are 10 perfections, 10 paramis that we all are aware of. And among them, Kanti parami represents the patience. Now, if I refer some aspects of patience available in the Dhammapada, which we all are familiar with, so there are various instances that Buddha has shown his patience. It's not only that he preached about patience, but he has shown his own patience, how much he can endure situations, how much he can patiently go through or endure certain situations. So, for example, one situation was when he was in the King Udaina's kingdom. So at that time, there is one queen called Magandia. So she was
Bante.
actually not happy with yes.
Bante, sorry to interrupt you, Bante. We can't see the screen. Are you sharing the screen?
Uh, I see. Give me a second.
First we could see, now we can't see the screen.
How about
Okay.
now?
Yeah, now we can see. Thank you, Bante.
Okay. So basically, so when Buddha was at this King Udaina's kingdom, so there is one queen called Magandia. So she is quite unhappy with the Buddha and his teaching and the Sangha. So she actually used several other people to insult Buddha. So there are a lot of monks get really upset or really unhappy about the situation, and they actually invited Buddha to leave the city. So, but there Buddha mentioned that he is like an elephant who is in the battlefield. He is trying to withstand all the arrows coming from different directions. You know, if in the good old days, unlike today's battles, so they are going face to face with using the old techniques, and it's really fierce battle. So nowadays people are hiding and doing the battle, but on those days they are actually going to the uh, forefront and they do the battle war, and they are Buddha mentioned like an elephant when it is in a battle, the battlefield. So there are various directions that it is trying to be targeted. So they are Buddha mentioned like such an elephant who is enduring all these arrows coming from various directions. This he himself is enduring all the different kinds of abuse, because the majority of the people are not really appreciating the virtues. their lack of virtues. So therefore, Buddha mentioned he's like a naga, he's like an elephant who has gone to the battlefield. And then, if we reach another beautiful verse coming in the Dhammapada, Buddha mentioned Kanti paramam tapoti tikha nibbanang paramang vadanti buddha nahi bappajito parupagati na samano hoti parang vihetayanto. So this is also a quite common verse. Kanti paramang tapoti tikha. So the supreme kind of austerity is the patience. So we know that there are various qualities that we are developing in our spiritual life where we are trying to overcome various defilements, and among them, the patience is some of kind of a prerequisite, and it is one of the foremost quality that one has to have. Nibbanam paramang vadanti Buddha. So all the Buddhas, not just the Gautama Buddha, all the Buddhas mention Nibbana as the supreme bliss. And then nahi pabbajito parupagahati, a bhikkhu who does not actually harm any others. So he's a person who always recommend the innocence or the humble behavior. And then na samano hoti parang hetayanto. So therefore, if someone is mistreating others, then he can't be a real bhikkhu. So likewise, this is a kind of a teaching that Buddha highlights. It is not unique to himself, but it is something that every Buddhas are preaching. Now, there is another Dhammapada verse discussing in the Akosa Bharadwaja incident. So there were several brothers who got ordained. Now, these brothers actually were belonging to a different clan or different belief. So actually, the first one came to blame Buddha or abuse Buddha, but Buddha was able to convince him, and then he became a monk. Then the other brother got really sort of angry about what has happened. So he came and sort of abused in a more severe manner, and just Buddha listened to that, and then he asked a very interesting question. Now assume that there is someone coming to your home, and he is carrying something for you, and you know that when we are going to see a person, then we are carrying some prizes or gifts or whatever it is, and then we are offering them to the whoever people, that may be our friends or maybe our teachers or whatever it is. Now now in this situation, Buddha is asking, assume that someone is coming to your house, and you are now trying to give some gifts to that person as well. Now, there's a kind of a both side situations. They are bringing something and you are offering something, and you prepare something as well. If there are, say, one of your best friends are arriving or visiting your house, then you are preparing something. Maybe your friends are also involved in that. Your whole family is involving in that preparations. But the situation is Buddha explaining here. The person who approach, he doesn't eat anything, kind of a situation. So he doesn't eat anything, but he left without eating anything. So then Buddha is asking, so what are you going to do, that you what you have prepared, all the eatables, what are you going to do? Then this fellow Akosaka Bharadwaj mentioned, so then I am sharing that with my wife and my children. So that is what I am going to do. Because that fellow didn't accept it. So I am now going to share everything. I am going to consume what we have prepared by ourselves. Then Buddha mentioned, so you have now given a lot of wrong words to me, blames to me, but I am not accepting. Now you got to share it with your family. So this is a kind of an argument that Buddha mentioned. So ultimately, this fellow also got happy about Buddha's teaching, and he too became a monk. So likewise, there are four brothers, actually all belonging to this Bharadwaja clan, as a Brahmin clan, and they all became monks. So then Buddha mentioned, Kosang vada bandhancha aduttoyo titikkati kanti balang balanikang tamaham brumi brahmana. So, if someone uh, can endure abuse, some sort of abuse coming towards yourself, And it may not be only abuse, it may be even beating kind of punishments, harassments, and all these are different kind of things. If he is able to endure those, so that endurance I am calling as a kind of a power, real might. That is the patience. Him do I call a holy man. Him do I call a Brahmin. So the term Brahmana is actually referred to an Arahant. So Buddha mentioned here, so this particular person who has this endurance, patience as his power, now I am calling him as a Arahant. Therefore, you can see Buddha is giving us a different kind of a example for ourselves to behave. It may be different from what we think. We think that we always have to react, otherwise we feel like timid. But here Buddha is giving a different idea where certain intellectual or more wise approach is available. Now this is more evident in another sutta called Vepachitti Sutta, where there's a kind of a battle. Nowadays, all everywhere are battles. Now in this time, there was a battle in the heavenly realms as well. So this battle has happened between the asuras and the suras. That means the celestial beings as well as, and between the celestial beings and with the asuras. The leader of the asura is called Vepajitti. Now, during this battle, actually, the gods or the celestial beings won, but the asuras actually they were defeated. Then what happened was the king of the asuras, this Vepajitti, was brought in front of the god Sakka, who is the king of the 33 realms, and this Vepachitti was kind of bound with five kinds of bondings. Now he is very much like helpless now, and he is now being sort of tightened, bounded, and then kept inside this particular area, kind of a building called. Uh, so that is where all the celestial beings are getting assembled. So they are assembling there. Now King Sakka is now approaching. Now he is being informed. Now the King Vepachitti was taken here. Now he is in this kind of a situation. They were defeated. Now to the whole audience, this God Sakka is now coming. When God Sakka approaching the audience to the meeting, then Vepachitti start to blame him, abuse him with all the different kinds of bad words, because he is now defeated, but he can speak, by the way. Now he is blaming, shouting, screaming, abusing God's Hakka, telling this and that. Now at that time, there is one charioteer called Matali. So Matali is asking from God's Hakka, Dear Majesty, now this fellow being defeated, now he is trying to abuse you. How are you maintaining your patience? How are you maintaining your composed nature of your mind? Because this fellow is now being a really defeated, he is now trying to abuse you. Now typically what happens is, when someone is really weak, really feeble, defeated, if he is trying to abuse the most powerful person, immediately the powerful person get angry and maybe even kill that fellow. So because the victor is always maybe more powerful, he has the whole authority. But here Godsak taken a different approach, and he is mentioning Nahang Bhaya na Dubbalya Kamami Vepachittino Katanhi Madiso Vinyu Balena Patisangyujati. So here this King Sakka mentioned, so it is not because that I am weak or feeble that I am maintaining this kind of patience. I am a wise person, so to this person, like a foolish person, there is no point of getting angry. There is no point of getting to come back with the fool. So that's why I am being patient. So this is a very interesting part, because kind of a weak person, maybe a timid person, he has no option when someone else is more powerful is angry. So he simply have to maintain his timid nature because he's quite weak, feeble. He can't do much. He is anyway maintaining kind of patience, but it is not the real patience that highlighted here. The person who is showing patience is more powerful. The other party who is trying to abuse is less powerful, but the powerful person is maintaining patience. So it's a completely different paradigm shift. Here, King Lord Sakka is highlighting, and later Buddha also using that same situation, same incident to teach Dhamma, and where while being a mighty person, while being a more powerful person, if you can endure someone, a person who is weak, when he is trying to abuse you, if you are able to maintain kind of your without getting angry, without going to get revenge, if you can maintain patience, so that is more and more kind of a good quality that one is showing. So they are further mentioned, Etadeva ahang manye balassa pati sedana. Parang sankupitang nyatta yo sato upasammati. So one understand, okay, the other fellow is now in a bad situation. He's now angry. So if I am also getting angry, now both parties going to lose. So when one understand, okay, the foolish fellow is now quite angry, so the wise person does not go to become angry. Rather, one mindfully maintains one's peace. Your sato upasammati. Mindfully, one maintains one's calmness of the mind without getting angry. Now, here another point mentioned in this way, Pajitti Sutta. And the same thing is further highlighted. Yo have balava santo, yo have balava santo, dubballasa titikkati. Tamahu paramang kanting, nichang kamati dubbalu. When a person endowed with strength patiently endures a weakling, they call that the supreme patience. The weakling must be patient always. Now, being a more powerful person, strong person, if he is trying to maintain patience, so that is the supreme kind of patience that we can say. Then another point is, if one is considering the welfare of the both parties, the welfare of oneself as well as the welfare of the other person, then he mindfully maintains his peace. Your sato upasammati. So this therefore maintaining patience does not simply represent any kind of timid, foolish, weak nature, but it represents kind of a spiritual power one is maintaining. One can control oneself. One can monitor oneself. Therefore, one is not allowing one's mind to burn by anger, burn by resentment, burn by revenge. Rather, one is maintaining one's mind peacefully, mindfully. And then there are a lot of things that we can discuss with respect to the practice. Now, when we are into the practice, maybe the meditation practice, so there are a lot of things that we have to endure. Because sometimes when we are in a retreat environment, now I am doing this presentation or this sermon while at Kalagoda, so there's a kind of a retreat environment. But sometimes we hear a lot of noise. The adjacent people are they are actually sometimes enjoying with a lot of loud music. So we have to endure it. And sometimes we are now going through power cuts, so we have to endure it. And there are sometimes mosquitoes, maybe flies that we have to endure. So likewise, these are certain physical aspects that we have to endure. And on the other hand, while sitting, probably we sometimes encounter kind of drowsiness, maybe sleepiness. So if we give up our practice just because of that, then also that's not going to work. So we have to endure that kind of sort of lack of energy that what we have. So then we have to slowly develop energy without giving up, and assume that someone is say you are meditating with the group, say someone is making a loud noise, so that also we have to endure. If we start to shout, if we start to make a lot of fuss about it, then we can't we ourselves are the ones going to suffer. And broadly actually we can discuss with when it comes to sila samadhi panya. So when we are trying to develop fair amount of morality, so there are various instances that we can even break the precepts. There won't be anyone looking after you, there won't be anyone who is investigating you, so there are maybe opportunities that you can even break the precepts. Suppose now you are in 8 precepts and you are quite hungry, and there may be already say food available, and now it is afternoon, maybe in the evening. So are we able to endure that kind of situation without breaking the precept? So maintaining precepts therefore require certain amount of endurance. So without that, actually, we immediately do some sort of a transgression. So maintaining endurance, patience is therefore required even when we are developing morality. And on the other hand, when we are developing samadhi, so another interesting area, because say for example you are practicing anapanasati, and at that time, suppose that you have to again and again keep your attention back to the breath. So it requires fair amount of patience, because again and again mind wanders. It may start to wander to the past, it may start to wander to the future. So a lot of distractions. But if we don't have enough patience, then we quickly give up. But if we have patience, so we may actually endure this situation, allow the mind to calm down slowly. And we don't have very, I mean, we may not get quick results, but we can patiently endure such situation. So we know this practice may be a little difficult. I may not get quick results. My mind is still wandering, so I need to accept it. I have to have some sort of self-compassion. So that requires fair amount of patience. So without patience, we can't develop samadhi, the concentration, because mind is not behaving the way as we wish. Rather, mind always wandering. Mind doesn't want to stay with the breath. Mind doesn't want to stay with the say left and right foot, or mind doesn't want to stay with the whatever the rising and falling, because they are quite ordinary, boring type of objects. But mind may want to sort of wander and enjoy something desirable. Now, at that time, patiently bringing the mind back to the object requires fair amount of patience. And when it comes to vipassana, even more patience one might need, because what you are experiencing is always going to change. Say, for example, you are observing various sensations available throughout the body, and now you are carefully looking at it. Now this sensation may vary, and you might have expected some kind of sensation, but completely opposite might have happened, and you don't know when this is going to change. And even though you expect some different kind of behavior, it is showing a different another type of behavior. So it things may happen against your sort of desire. So at that time you have to patiently endure, and assume that you are practicing elements meditation. So there are probably you can understand the whole body sort of manifest, show different behaviors of elements, and there also you have to maintain very quiet, calm, patient mind just to endure this whole reality, because in front of you the whole body starts very much like disintegrate. So are we able to maintain endurance, patience when we are looking at it? And assume that you are now practicing vedananupassana, the mindfulness on various feelings. And sometimes, and maybe even most of the times, what probably we may experience are the painful feelings. So when painful feelings are available, if we are sort of giving up practice, or if we get discouraged, so that doesn't help us. But when painful feelings are available, if we are able to look at them patiently, observe them, or investigate them, then a lot of wisdom is possible. So in Vedananupassana, particularly, therefore, we have to have fair amount of patience. And say you are in the Chittanupassana, say you are observing various mind states, different thoughts, and sometimes the thoughts that mind is going through may be completely unacceptable. Assume that you are with precepts and you are a good person, but what mind is thinking may be completely unacceptable. So at that time, you have to be again patient. You need to understand, okay, this is the sort of hidden tendencies operating in the mind. Even though in the outside I may look like a good person, internally still there are a lot of defilements. So I need to endure it till I am able to recognize and let them go, allow them to fade away. I have to be patient with the current situation. So I can't be a saint immediately. So it's a very gradual, very slow process, particularly when Buddha mentioned that abandoning what you call taints, asavas. So Buddha mentioned particularly there is a method called adivasana pahatabba. So probably you can remember in the Sabbasava Sutta, Buddha mentioned seven types of methods to overcome taints, asavas, and one of them is called adivasana pahatabba, that through patient endurance there are certain amount of taints that we need to eliminate. It's not just through the meditation, it is not just through the kind of the say wisdom, but through patiently enduring, we can and we have to overcome certain defilements. So Buddha mentioned very beautifully here a bhikkhu reflecting wisely bears cold and heat, hunger and thirst, contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and creeping things. He endures ill spoken, unwelcome words and arisen bodily feelings that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, disagreeable, distressing, and menacing to life. Now, Buddha very clearly has mentioned, so these are the life situations that we may encounter. Now, if you consider the present day world, now people are going through a lot of difficult times. And if we get into anger, if we are going to kind of quarrels, then both parties going to lose. But if we are able to maintain some amount of patience, when there is no electricity, can we bear the heat? Say when there is, say, there are mosquitoes, gadflies, and these kinds of situations, are we able to bear that situation? If I am hungry, can I bear that? And when things are not in favorable of me, can I bear it? And when someone is sort of treating you badly, maybe sort of using some bad words, without getting to quarrel, is it possible to bear it, to endure it? So likewise Buddha mentioned, so if we are maintaining fair amount of patience, the possibility of arising taints or the possibility of strengthening taints is less and less, because we are not giving the opportunity for the defilements. Rather, we are maintaining our integrity, we are maintaining the composed nature of the mind without allowing it to get agitated. So the mind is always maintaining the equanimous situation. So that is more wise, that is more sort of the correct approach. That is why Buddha highlighted here in the practice, especially when you are trying to overcome various defilements, there are certain kind of defilements that we have to be endured. We have to endure patiently and then allow those defilements not to arise. We are not giving a chance to those defilements to arise. And then there's another area that in Maharahulavada Sutta, Venerable Sariputta actually this advice Venerable Rahula, and Buddha also advised Venerable Rahula, and there Buddha giving a very interesting simile with respect to elements. So, when we consider the earth, so Buddha mentioned this earth, actually, it is not always people are putting the pure things. They put even the really loathsome things. So they are putting excrement, they are putting urine, they are putting spittle, they are putting pus, blood, everything, all the bad things they are putting onto the earth. But earth is unmoved, it is not getting humiliated, it is not getting disgusted because of what people are doing. Earth has that stability. Earth is capable of maintaining that kind of equanimity in that sense. So therefore Buddha mentioned to Venerable Rahula, just develop your meditation like the earth. When you are developing meditation like the earth, Recent agreeable and disagreeable contacts will not invade your mind and remain there. So you are like an earth. So you are enduring the situation like earth. Then Buddha further highlights, like the water, you have to endure the situation because people are using water to wash all the dirty things. I mean, I don't need to explain everything. You can understand. So it is not that we are using water to simply to drink, but we are using water to wash all the bad things, all the dirty things. But water, so water maintain its integrity. Water is just water. So water is capable of maintaining that kind of uh, mm, say its nature without say complaining in that sense. So therefore Buddha mentioned just develop your meditation like water. And when it comes to fire, so fire burns all the dirty things. So you are putting garbage and then fire, you are putting cow dung and then fire, and likewise the fire burns everything without any complaint. So it is not the sandalwood that you are burning, but you maybe even burn all the dirty things, but there is no complaint coming from the fire. So similarly, Buddha mentioned, so maintain or develop your meditation like fire, the heat element. And there's an interesting thing when it comes to the space element. So Buddha mentioned in this Maharahulavada Sutta, just as space is not established anywhere, so too Rahula develop meditation that is like space. This is another area Buddha highlights, and I feel this is more in a way kind of advanced approach where Buddha is using the space, the simile of space. Space, it is not established anywhere. Now, if we are able to develop meditation like space without establishing yourself anywhere, without holding anything, without grasping anything, without having kind of a establishment, just to have unestablished mind. So this is a kind of an advanced level. So there Buddha highlights, if you are able to maintain your meditation like space, then all the agreeable and disagreeable contacts will not invade your mind. So you are able to maintain more equanimity if you are able to develop meditation like space. And again, another area, another interesting point I like to highlight here is not only during the bad times that we have to be patient, but even in the most favorable times, we have to maintain some sort of equanimity. Now, this is highlighted in the Brahmajala Sutta, in Diganikaya, where sometimes people praise the Buddha, and sometimes they are sort of dispraise the Buddha. In both situations, Buddha mentioned just maintain equanimity. Don't get into the extremes. Say, for example, when someone is dispraising Buddha, when someone is dispraising Dhamma, when someone is dispraising the Sangha, there Buddha mentioned you should not give way to resentment, displeasure, or animosity against them in your heart. So this is Buddha's words, because we can't expect everyone to praise the Buddha. We can't expect everyone to praise the Dhamma or Sangha. There are a lot of people who are sort of abusing, who are blaming, who are criticizing. So at that time, if we are getting into sort of trouble, if we get really upset, so then it doesn't represent sort of maturity in ourselves. And again, on the other hand, Buddha mentioned, so the first part actually we can understand that is very much like the patience, but the second part, that is the interesting part here. So here Buddha mentioned, if bhikkhus, others speaks in praise of me, or in praise of the Dhamma, or in praise of Sangha, you should not give way to jubilation, joy and exaltation in your heart. Or sometimes when someone is praising me, when someone is praising Buddha, when someone is praising the Sangha, to the Dhamma, so sometimes we get really elated. Then again we lose the balance. So there also Buddha mentioned, so don't get into that extreme either. Don't get into kind of a jubilation. Don't get into some sort of too much joy or elation. Just maintain calmness. Be in the middle. So therefore, it is not just in the bad situations that we have to maintain sort of patience. But here, Buddha advised even to maintain kind of patience, even when things are extremely favorable. Don't get into some sort of elated state. Rather, try to maintain kind of calmness because maybe in the next moment things can change. So we have to be more realistic. And then the most interesting simile is available in this Kakachupama Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, where Buddha very beautifully mentioned to the Sangha, the bhikkhus, how to develop patience. So Buddha mentioned when you are in a kind of a conversation, so sometimes people are addressing you timely because they know the exact time that is more suitable to address you, come and talk to you. So there are such kind of timely conversations. But some other times, without sort of knowing the proper time, they come and talk to you, and you get disturbed. And you may be in a very serious activity, but they come and disturb and start to talk. Another time, they come and talk about something true, something correct. But on the other hand, sometimes they are completely sort of talking completely untrue things, completely false things. And on the other hand, sometimes they are talking very gently. So it's pleasing to listen and they are talking very gently. But certain others, they come and talk very harshly. And sometimes people want to talk something good and connected with the good. They are talking something wholesome. Sometimes they are talking which is harmful, unwholesome. And sometimes when they are talking, they are with loving kindness, but sometimes some people are talking with hate. Now, these are the different situations Buddha is explaining. So you can't expect everyone to talk gently, everyone to talk only the truth, everyone to talk timely, and again expecting your welfare filled with loving kindness. So we can't expect that kind of a very perfect discussion. But on the other hand, sometimes people come and talk untimely and again completely untrue and certain harsh things, harsh words, and filled with harm, and they may be burning with hate. So, with that kind of an attitude, sometimes people can talk. So, there Buddha mentioned, you should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected. We shall utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness without inner hate. So, this is what he advised to us. You can't correct others. They may come in with different moods, they may behave differently, but our side, Buddha mentioned, just to restrain like this. Don't allow your mind to get into hate. Don't allow your mind to be angry. Just try to maintain your calmness, peacefulness of the mind, and kind of filled with loving kindness. And the best thing in this sutta is the simile given here. It's called a kakachopama simile. And Buddha gave this as a kind of an extreme sort of a situation where bandits are capturing you and they are using a saw, two-handled saw, and trying to cut limb by limb. And there Buddha mentioned, if you are getting onto such situation and the really bad bandits, they are cutting limb by limb using this two-handled saw. If you are having hate towards them, if you are sort of cursing them, if you are hating them, then you are not really carrying my teaching. You are not really following my teaching. Here, bhikkhus, our minds will remain unaffected, and we shall utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall abide, pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Therefore, because you should keep this advice in the simile of the soul constantly in mind, that will lead to your welfare and happiness for a long time. Now, this is the kind of extreme sort of simile Buddha is giving to keep it as a motto, as a role model. So, time to time, Buddha has reminded this, and monks also in certain other suttas. So, they are advising each other When someone is in a bad situation, when someone is almost about to get angry, another monk go and advise him. Remember that Buddha has mentioned the simile of the saw. So that is the simile. That is the situation that Buddha asks us to maintain. That is the advice he has given. So again and again, monks used to remember this simile, the simile of the saw. It is of course kind of an extreme thing, but this is the simile Buddha is highlighting. So don't get on to sort of anger at even this kind of a situation. So therefore, we can understand the patience is a must in our spiritual life. Without patience, either we can't be successful even in the worldly sense or even in the spiritual side. So therefore, let's look at these things more deeply and to try to develop patience in ourselves so that ourselves as well as our family members, our neighbors, as a whole society, we can be sort of more successful than get into quarrels, arguments, disputes, or wars or battles or whatever it is. So, with that, I like to conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Now we can actually get into the practice session. Now I invite all of you to sit comfortably. We are now going to practice a few minutes. May you sit in a comfortable position. Relax yourself. You can keep your head straight and close your eyes. You can take a deep breath, hold it for a while, and then release. Try to recognize the areas what I am explaining. Now you can focus your attention to your eyes and you can feel the eyes are closed. There is no tension in your eyes. You have gently closed your eyes. Lips are gently touching. Head straight. Neck also straight. Shoulders in a relaxed position. Hands may be resting on your lap. Upper half of the body is straight. And you can feel some heaviness or pressure at your buttocks. Legs are bent. And all the muscles, legs muscles, are relaxed. You are in a more comfortable sitting posture. You can take another deep breath, hold it for a while, and then release. Just relax. There is nothing much to do. Simply connecting with the body, trying to be aware of the body. If there are various thoughts pertaining to the past, don't encourage them. Simply bring your attention back to the body. Similarly, there could be thoughts related to the future. Don't encourage them. You can simply postpone whatever the plans. Just bring your attention back to the body. So, the body, the experience that we are going through the body is quite ordinary. But we have to give some value to that, some emphasis to that. Just pervade your whole body with that awareness. You can take a deep breath, hold it for a while, then release. Now slowly bring your attention back to the breath. Keep your attention closer to the nostril. Try to recognize in breath and out breath. If your mind still wanders, you can note it as in breath, note it as out breath, or simply in out. Allow the body to breathe naturally. You are patiently looking at it, recognizing the in breath, recognizing the out breath. There is no huge target, rather, fully aware of the in breath, fully aware of the out breath. You are enjoying in breath, enjoying out breath. Completely happy when you are doing that, not expecting anything. Fully aware of in breath, fully aware of out breath. If you are able to recognize the breath properly, now you can try to recognize other subtle aspects of the breath. Whether the in breath is longer, whether it is shorter, whether in breath is cooler, or whether it is warmer, from which nostril it is going in, from which nostril it is going out. So you are carefully observing, carefully investigating. You have a little bit of curiosity to know what is the nature of the breath, what is the quality of the breath, what are the subtle characteristics of the breath. So you are investigating patiently, silently. If you are able to successfully watch the breath, probably you can recognize the beginning, the middle, the end of the in breath. Just before the beginning of out breath, there could be a little gap. Then the beginning, the middle, the end of the out breath. Before the beginning of next in breath, there is a slight gap. Try to recognize this cyclical nature of the whole breathing process, breathing cycle. Fully, carefully recognize it. Completely be with the breath, understanding each facet of the breath. If breathing calms down, let it calm down. You just facilitate calming down. Don't get on to sleepiness or don't agitate yourself. Don't enjoy doubts. Just allow the breathing to calm down. Okay, we can stop now. And we have 5 minutes remaining if we have anything to discuss. So we can spend some time. So anybody like to share their experience or like to raise any question, or you are fully absorbed in patience? Nowadays people don't have much patience, so that represents the whole world, and the whole world is suffering.
Bhante, like until someone comes up with a question, yeah, when we are living in our like just our lives, it is especially like we get like agitated like because the environment is always like surrounded by so much agitation, right? So and for beginners, right? So how someone it's really start to develop when you hear like it's very very some words someone scolding at you, and how someone can like awaken their mind, okay, this is a time I should start practicing my patience, so because people don't think about it, so that is why like people get into fights and arguments like that. Sometimes you try to prove your point, what you're saying is wrong, it's just basically that's it. And sometimes you have your own waves and you think it is right, and when someone said no, this is right. So how someone can like basically a beginner start like kind of like a exercise kind of a thing, can you suggest like how to do it?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of a what you call kind of a hobby one can develop. So there's an interesting simile again, but the Dhammaji also highlights sometimes. in Satipasala. So they are trying to introduce this simile to the school environment. So when another child, another, say your colleague, is trying to make you unhappy, make you angry, so you get defeated if you get angry. So you get it a completely different way. Now he's trying to make you angry, and you get defeated only if you get angry. But if you are able to maintain peace, so that means the other person is the loser. You are the victor. You are having a victory. So Buddha gave a different kind of a simile there. So Buddha mentioned Kumbo Angani Sake Kapali at Samadham Bhikkhu Manovitakki. Now, basically, how we get angry has a kind of a cycle, has a kind of a stepwise process. So, when we come into a situation, then we start to think about it. So, I am correct, he is wrong. Now, then again, I am thinking, oh, I am correct, I am correct, he is wrong, he is wrong. So, thinking is now sort of getting the momentum, and more different kinds of ways now we are thinking he did the bad thing to myself, to my child, to my wife, to my husband, to my teacher. So likewise we are adding more and more information to the picture, and now I am getting more and more angry. Rather than doing that, Samadham bhikkhu manovitakki. Now you have to calm down all these mental thoughts, whatever arousing in the mind, different kinds of thinking, different kinds of thoughts now sort of popping up in your mind. Just calm them down. How are you going to calm them down? Like a tortoise taking limb by limb inside. The forelegs and the head a tortoise is having. So whenever there is a kind of a dangerous situation, he quickly put them inside. So rather than it is put them outside, rather he takes everything inside, then he is safe, then he is the winner. So Buddha is telling that. So bhikkhu, monk, just rather than allow thoughts to pop up, rather than allow thoughts to go out and get on to a more say proliferation kind of a situation, just absorb them inside. Just let them go. Just allow them to calm, like a tortoise, bringing all its limbs inside. So therefore, in a kind of a classroom setting, so now teachers are sort of encouraged to give this kind of an approach. So whenever your friend, say to a child, we are telling to a children, okay, whenever your friend is trying to agitate you, whenever something he is trying to make you angry, so you are the loser if you get angry, but he is the loser if you are not getting angry but you are able to maintain calmness. So therefore this is something that we can take. And on the other hand, I can remember there is a project started by one of the high schools in London. So they are introducing what we call as the peace button. So PK, the peace button, peace kids. So they are calling it as peace kids, and they are introducing a technique called peace button. So what they are doing is they are keeping both hands at their tummy, and whenever they are in this kind of an angry situation, they try to bring their attention back to the tummy. So when they are keeping both hands at the tummy, so the two hands are now going up and down. So they are keeping attention to this movement of the hands. There's a beautiful song also there. So they are introducing that song in a more creative manner. So peace kids and with peace buttons. So they are endowed with this peace button, and so they are the teachers are encouraging whenever you are in a bad situation. Don't get into that situation. Rather, come back to this peace button. Now activate your peace button. Now children are doing it, and they are really telling that yes, it is working. I mean, but in deep, actually, there's a meditation here. So it is a rising and falling meditation, but they don't tell that to the kids. Rather, they give it differently, explain it differently with very beautiful words. Now you are activated with peace buttons. You are the peace kids. So then children are more happy rather than they are sort of telling you have to meditate. Now they are giving it more differently, so more creatively. So that is how actually we have to pass the message to the college environment, to the school environment. So that is more appropriate. So likewise to ourselves also, whenever we get on to kind of this sort of situation, rather than allow the mind to think many different directions, if we are able to come back to ourselves, some sort of introvert to ourselves, and one technique is, as we discussed, is the peace button. So you are keeping your both hands at your tummy and just check how it is going up and down. Probably when you are angry, it is more, say, more rapidly it is going up and down. But as you are observing the hands, both hands, you may slowly understand, okay, this speed is less and less now. It's getting less and less because you are paying your attention back to something different, not to the anger, or you are not forming anger, or you're not feeding anger. So therefore the anger starts to fade away. So these kinds of approach are quite interesting, and say you can think of the good things that the other person has done. Currently he may be behaving badly, but there may be enough opportunities, enough incidents, if you can recall, that he has helped you or he has done something good to you. So if we are able to divert our attention to on those kinds of incidents, then we can forget about what is happening right now. So what typically happens is, even though there are 1001 good things available, we give emphasis to one single thing which is bad. So that is our nature of the mind. We always like to highlight the fault, neglecting all the good things. So if we understand this nature in ourselves, so this person has done enough good things. He has a lot of good qualities, but my mind is trying to highlight something bad. That also something that we can approach actually. Okay, I think there is someone, this Chitra Devi, I think she has raised the hand. So you can start. Yeah.
You can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, Sarika and Bhante. My question is a very simple question, but thank you for today's talk. All these good qualities, the paramis, and we are also doing bad things. I mean, as human beings. So where are these stored in our five aggregates, Bhante?
So it's a difficult question to answer. Basically, the memory, actually, we can say like this. So our brain is kind of a vessel to facilitate the mind. So the manifestation of the mind is through the memory, through the brain. So therefore we can say, so whenever you want to do something, so the mind initially has that chetana, the willingness, the intention, and then through the brain it is activating that. So therefore we can say the memory also, certain part may be attributed to the brain and certain part may be attributed to the mind. And uh, and it's a kind of a generation, it's a kind of a continuation of the different thought moments that we are going through. So if we are able to look back, bring our attention back slowly, then we may be able to release, or retrieve various past incidents. So that is somehow what they are doing in the meditation, in the say when you practice some amount of mindfulness. So they can slowly bring back their attention to the previous incidents. Say 1 day ago, what I have done. 2 days ago, what I have done. Say 1 week ago, what I have done. 3 weeks ago, what are the things I have encountered. 1 month ago, what I have encountered. So likewise, you can train the mind to recall the past. So, I mean, it's difficult to answer exactly telling where they are stored, either in the universe or either in the brain or either in another place. It's difficult to answer exactly, but I mean, uh, these skills are available in the mind. So that is why people are able to recall their past lives to some extent, and certain people can develop that to higher extent so that they can recall even many past lives. So likewise, these are skills available in the human mind.
So Bhante, these are now also going to the karmic thing. So are these also in somewhere stored that come back as karma and then rebirth? So all these things that millions of things that we are thinking and our actions and our verbal talk, all those good and bad are all stored as karma as well, isn't it?
We can't say that each and everything is converted to karma or effective as karma, but mostly according to the Buddha's teaching, Buddha highlights that intentionally what we do, intentionally what we are involved with, are capable of or have the potential to produce karma in the future. So
So
if there are
this
a
is
lot of
also
things,
stored in the conscious or brain, or this karmic force is also in the brain or the consciousness or whatever. Is that right?
that's the point that I mean difficult to answer. Now, say for example, now if you consider a seed. Now, a seed has its own potential to build as a huge tree, but it has to get the conducive environment. So it has to be placed on a very fertile ground, and you have to put some water, you have to put some manure, fertilizer, and say you have to look after it. So likewise, there are so many other conditions. Then only that this particular seed may produce a sapling, may grow as a little plant, and then ultimately grow as a huge tree. So there are various other conditions. So the main cause, the root, is available in the seed. The seed has the potential. So similarly, when we are doing various actions intentionally, it produces some sort of a potential, maybe in our psyche, and later in the future, when the opportunities are available, when the necessary conducive environment is available, they bear fruits. But if there is no such potential, if there is no such conducive environment, situation, conditions, then that potential may slowly fade away or simply nullified. So that's why sometimes Buddha mentioned about the ahosi karma. Maybe various previous karma which has been cancelled
Yes,
because they haven't got the necessary conducive environment for to bear fruit.
yes, yes. Right. Thank you, Bante.
Okay. There is Mr. Ravi Karunaratna. You can ask your question.
Most people living in the West are non-Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the concept of anicca, dukkha, anatma the way we have. So even among us, sukha and atma, although we know that is not the case, because we try to think of it from the positive side.
Okay, I think you are asking about how to convince people on anicca dukkha anatta. So I mean, we can ask them to inquire. So rather than we can ask them to inquire and see. That is what we are trying to do in the satipatthana practice, the mindfulness practice. Rather than asking them to believe it. So okay, I mean, we as Buddhists may be believing it, but what is most important is to experientially know it. So, for example, while we are
Yes.
practicing, say, Vedananupassana, say you are observing various feelings, maybe pleasurable feelings, painful feelings, equanimous feelings, but later, slowly, you will understand these feelings are not permanent. They have the nature to arise, they have the nature to pass away. You are looking at them, you are patiently observing these various feelings again and again, then slowly you understand their impermanent nature. So it's a kind of an experiential understanding. It is not that you are believing because of Buddha has mentioned that feelings are impermanent. Rather, you yourself has experientially know that feelings are impermanent. They have the nature to arise and pass away. Which actually is more powerful.
Into yes, but they don't go into the Westerners I'm talking of. Most of the people who practice satipatthana would be Buddhists.
But even nowadays, people are practicing satipatthana, even non-Buddhist. but sometimes they are not giving enough emphasis to this anicca dukkha anatta. They simply, I mean, maintain their practice onto the surface level. Just they
Yes.
stop at the establishment of the mindfulness. So the satipatthana is where the establishment of the mindfulness, so they can be mindful on various situations. But that is actually one third of the Buddha's teaching with
Yeah.
respect to the real mindfulness, the real satipatthana. So Buddha actually give us more deep aspects to satipatthana. As a second point is what Buddha highlights about this impermanent characteristics. This satipatthana bhavana is the second stage where you understand this impermanent nature of which is common to all the phenomena, all the conditioned phenomena. And as you are developing further and further, you are able to get a lot of insights that leads to kind of a non-grasping state of mind. And then you are coming to another stage, that is the third stage in the mindfulness practice. Buddha highlights, then you have to get on to a kind of a patipada, kind of a way of life that is based on virtues, that is based on morality, based on concentration, and based on wisdom. So this is the third stage Buddha highlights in the Satipatthana practice. So, but unfortunately, the West only taken the first part, where only the establishment of the mindfulness. But actually, I can remember, actually, Shalika has shared a lot of this Bhante Gunarathana's teachings. So he again and again highlights this impermanent characteristics. So when one is developing mindfulness properly, one slowly has to understand this impermanent nature of various phenomena. So that is the second stage that we need to highlight, we need to understand. So it is part of mindfulness practice. But as I said, unfortunately, we haven't given enough emphasis to that in the Western mindfulness practices. So they simply stay at the first stage. Okay, I think we have running out of time. Probably, Shalika, we can wind up the session.
Yes, Pandit, thank you so much for the, detailed and very enlightening talk today. And thank you all for your participation. So our next meeting will be on Friday, April 29th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is going to be Saturday, April 30th at 7 a.m. Sri Lankan time. Thank you so much again for all your participation and have a happy and peaceful weekend.